Thursday, June 3rd, and it is 5 o'clock Eastern Time. We'll do a roll call of the commissioners, so you can either unmute yourself or raise your hand, whatever is easier. Lynn Alexis. Lynn is here. Chief Bright.
Here.
And Reverend Bogertman will be absent. He had a conflict. Chief Callahan is not here at the moment. Jalon Fowler. Jalon is here. Shema Mansour Hosseini, Vice Chair, is not here at the moment. Rashid Mukabir.
Here.
Thank you, Rashid. Kuru Pish. Kuru is here. Kathy Reinstein.
Here.
Thank you. Oh, Dr. Garcia, I skipped over you alphabetically. Dr. Garcia.
Present, no problem.
Okay, and I am the chairperson, Janine Grillo-Mara. Okay, let's, as we traditionally do, just take several moments or a few minutes to arrive and settle. So find a position that's comfortable for you, whether you want your eyes open or closed. And if you'd like, you could breathe in a way that's slower and deeper than your usual rhythm. You might even imagine or sense that you could breathe with your whole body, through every pore of your skin and every cell of your being. And in your own way, let each in-breath be an invitation to arrive, to be here, this place, this moment, alert, awake. And let each out-breath be an invitation to let go, so to let go of the ways we stick to what's happening, get overly involved. So just simply inhaling and exhaling. If you'd like, take one more nice, slow, deep breath, and maybe even attend to your body if you need to move a bit or stretch. And Jalon, I'll share my screen and ask you to state oh, actually, Chief Callahan is here. It's his turn. Chief Callahan, I'm going to share my screen if you don't mind reading the mission statement. Would that be okay?
Okay.
Just give me a moment. Can you see it, sir?
Yes. I just have to move a little thing. Absolutely. Would you like me to read the Janine right now?
Yes, if you don't mind.
My pleasure. The mission of the Revere Human Rights Commission is to promote human and civil rights and empower all people of Revere by ensuring that everyone, especially the most vulnerable and marginalized, have equitable opportunities, equal access, and are treated with dignity, respect, fairness, and justice.
Thank you. And let the record show that Chief Callahan and Vice Chair Shema Monsieur Hosseini are both now present. Okay, so the next item is to approve the minutes from the May 6th monthly meeting, which were distributed to you prior to this meeting. Does anyone have any questions, any challenges, input, corrections? Okay, none noted. I'd like to request a motion to approve the May 6th meeting minutes.
Motion to accept the minutes, Madam Chair.
Yes. Second,
I will second that motion.
thank you. All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you. All in favor. Okay. So now we have two pending topic updates. So these are topics that we have talked about in the past that I wanted to give you a brief update on each of them. The first is the executive director status. You may remember that in March, we worked on putting a job description together and posting that. At that time, because there was no budget for the executive director, we had to post the job with the hours and salary to be determined. We only got one application. There was no interview. Since that time, the mayor has decided that he would like to proceed and create a new Director of Equity and Inclusion position, a DEI position. And this will be included in the next fiscal year budget, which begins on July 1st. Once the Human Resource Department and anyone else involved creates a job description, the mayor may want our input, and we can give that input, or if he requests anything else of us to be involved in interviews or anything, we will respond accordingly. And this DEI position will take on the functions and tasks and responsibilities of what would have been the executive director position, as well as obviously that position will have a broader perspective to it. So I just wanted you all to know that that's where we're at, that instead of an executive director, we'll soon have a DEI, and we will sort of fall under the DEI's direction. Okay. Any questions or comments?
Just want to say that that's a great news.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you all. And thank you for your patience. I know we've all been sort of looking forward to having an executive director or at this time a DEI. The anti-racism and anti-oppression training for the commissioners internally for the HRC. Thank you for those who responded. I did hear from most of you. It's not easy to schedule with 11 people. So I know I'm not going to be able to please everyone, and I'm just going to, I figured it was easier rather than do this by email while most of us are together to share this now, because as it turns out, we're not going to have too much of a choice. So based on everyone's responses, and they were varied, I thought Thursdays seemed like a day that a lot of people mentioned that would work for them. However, when I reached out to the training group, Courage of Care, I thought we might be able to do like a Thursday and then a week or two later do another Thursday or something. This needs to be a consecutive 2-day training. So looking at everybody's conflicts, because many of you sent me dates that you were not available, and there was quite a bit. What we are left with is basically October 1, 2, 3, which is a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Now, September 30th is a Thursday. Lynn, you had initially mentioned that you were not available on that day, but if you are, that gives us more options to choose Thursday, Friday, Friday, Saturday, Saturday, Sunday. Although I don't really think Sunday will be an option because of Reverend Bogertman. So I think we'd be looking at Thursday, Friday, or Friday, Saturday. And I'm sorry because I know some of you requested Saturday, Sunday, but at this point, we're really working with what it's boiling down to, which isn't much. It happens that the training group is available on those days and they're temporarily holding them for us. So first, Lynn, could you just speak to if Thursday, September 30th is an option?
Yes, it will be. Thank you, Janine.
So that means we could do Thursday, Friday, or Friday, Saturday. And I'm not sure, Rashid, are those dates okay for you? Because I hadn't heard from you.
What time on Friday?
I think that they generally do these like an all-day event, like when I've done a training with them in the past, it was sort of like a 9 to 5 kind of thing.
That should be fine. I do have classes during the night, so during the day it should be okay.
And I know that, I know for different reasons, some people might have to take time off work or others may have to, it's just not your first choice. But that's where we're at. I think at this point, rather than take up more time at this meeting, now that we know we're looking at Thursday, Friday, or Friday, Saturday, then I can follow up by email and just go with the majority. But before we leave this topic, does anyone have any other questions or comments or concerns?
Janine, Madam Chair, do you mind if you could repeat the time, like the tentative time for those days?
Probably 9 to 5. We could possibly request 8:30 to 4:30 or 8 to 4, or something like that. But generally they're around 9 to 5. The other thing to note is that they had already planned, because of COVID, to do all of their trainings online. So they will be on Zoom, but it does not preclude us from getting together in a physical location, and being together. Or some people could be together physically, and others of you, if it's more convenient, could join by Zoom. So we can sort of make that happen. Anything else? So just please look for an email on that, and within, shortly after this meeting, so that we can see which of those days will work best. Okay, so now the active topics for discussion. First, starting June 15th, all city meetings will be in person. I'd like to know from this group if 5 o'clock can still work. So is there anyone in the group that, because of commuting, 5 o'clock does not work? Kathy?
Hi, thanks, Madam Chair. I just want to say one thing. I know there was a hearing at the State House about allowing some public meetings to continue to have that remote part, because people across the state were saying that there was better public participation. So I don't know, though, if that will be passed by the time we have to do a June meeting, but I just wanted to say that out loud.
Thank you, Kathy. I think Ruben can speak to this. I do think that I read somewhere or heard that. I think, though, for us, I'm talking about for us, we need to be in person, the commissioners. That I don't think my understanding from the email I received from the city clerk, we don't have a choice in that. So I'm wondering from this group, because we might need to, it looks like Ruben might want to speak.
Oh, I can wait till you finish your thought, but
Okay.
the legislation. So Kathy, I think you're onto something. The legislation is still pending. It has been proposed by the governor. I believe that quorums of commissions need to be in person, but there will still, I think there will still be the possibility for some members, as long as it doesn't impact the quorum, to join remotely, and the public participation. But that it can also be remote. That is an option that boards and commissions have the ability to take. As my understanding, there are already some boards and commissions in the city of Revere that have gotten together and voted that they want to be in person only, and so that is an option they have already chosen. But that is sort of up to you. Assuming the legislation goes through, which at this point it seems that there's not a lot of opposition to it.
So along those lines, Ruben, if someone could not participate in person, does that mean that they cannot vote? Because it sounds like we have to have a quorum in person. I'm not clear on.
They should be able to vote. I mean, again, I haven't read the details of the legislation. I don't think it will impact their ability to vote. I just think that the legislation is going to require that the majority of boards and commissions be in person. But there will be some exceptions available for that.
Okay, thank you. And thank you, Kathy, again. So I guess first is, do we want to discuss whether or not we should just be an in-person board? And if so, then have a motion on that because that's going to affect what the starting time might be, and if it might need to start a bit later. Go ahead, Kathy.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I mean, whatever the group decides is fine with me, but I would advocate to be able to have the ability to do both. What if there's weather? What if there's something we have to do that's sudden? And if that's really going to affect the ability for some people to attend, I think that would be unfortunate. So if we have the option of still having both, or, whatever the law says, I would be an advocate for that. Thank you.
Okay. Dr. Garcia, were you going to say something?
No, to be honest with you, I'd love to meet all of you in person. I mean, just in person. The issue here is some of us do commute. It becomes a little bit difficult if we do a hybrid method. We follow a hybrid method, as Kathy just pointed out. That could help, unless we can change the time a little bit. If we do it a little bit earlier, then I'm all for it. If we do 5, then it becomes a little bit late, because I will have to. I mean, I'm sure I'm the only one here. So I just want to have the ability to do both, just in case there are some conditions that may prevent us from meeting. And I'm not afraid of running meetings late, but when it becomes part of the routine, then it becomes a little bit difficult. That's all I'm saying.
So thank you, Dr. Garcia. My sense is we're going to have some of you that would prefer earlier because you start earlier, and some of you that have to commute, and it would be difficult to get to an in-person meeting at 5 o'clock. Is that correct for some of you? Because let's just say the legislation doesn't pass, or it only passes for a temporary amount of time. Are there some people that could not get to an in-person 5 o'clock meeting? It's Revere City Hall. Lynn.
It'd be difficult. I think I'd make some adjustments if that were the case, but my work day ends at 5. So.
Anyone else? Carol?
Oh,
I can do either earlier. Earlier is better than after 5. All those I can adjust my schedule as well, because if I know in advance. Actually,
let me back up. I just remembered the open meeting law. The city council had passed, I believe, an ordinance that we cannot have a public meeting before 5 o'clock. Ruben, is that correct that I remember seeing that an email to that point?
You cannot start.
Councilor Sereno had,
Yeah, public meetings cannot start before 5 o'clock.
so starting early is not an option. I guess the question is there anyone else other than Lynn that could not get to an in-person meeting at 5?
It's for me, it's a little bit difficult if it becomes part of the routine, but I'm sure that I can adjust my schedule. Sometimes I stay late for the school committee as well, so I know the drill. So it's just it's going to be a lot, but I can deal with it.
Same, I can certainly make adjustments, Janine.
Okay.
Fine.
So one more, I see Vice Chair Shay, go ahead.
Madam Chair, do you know where we're gonna be meeting if we are meeting in person?
I believe it's in the council chambers
Oh, okay, word. Oh, in City Hall, right?
in City Hall.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yes, and maybe for those of us that haven't been through that process, we'll get a little tutorial. So what I'm hearing is that there's no need to change the meeting time, that we'll stay at 5 o'clock. And we'll see if we'll see what the state legislation says about having the ability to do a hybrid. And we'll revisit this if anyone has any significant hardships. We will, just please ask it to be put back on the agenda, and we'll revisit this. Okay. July 1st, we are due to meet. That's our next meeting. And so the July 4th holiday obviously is not on a Thursday, but we are scheduled to meet the Thursday before. So the first question is, I'm going to ask you your availability and then your preference. So is anyone not available on Thursday, June 1st? Okay, so everyone is available.
That's July 1st, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Chief. Right. Yes, July. Is anyone not available on Thursday, July 1st? Okay. If the group decided to postpone it because of the holiday weekend to the 8th, is anyone not available on Thursday, July 8th? Okay. Just raise your hand, who prefers to keep it at July 1st? I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9. So that's already majority. So then we'll keep the meeting at July 1st at 5 o'clock, and I'll sort of inform you that will be in person for those who can come, and we'll keep you updated about the state legislature.
Just a heads up that I will be in Maine, so if I can, I will try to find a substitute to take the meeting on for that particular week so that I can have vacation.
Ruben, as the chairperson, I strongly encourage you to please take it off and find someone else. We will miss you, but please take the time off.
Much appreciated.
Okay. I just want legislature. Okay. All right. Now, before we continue with the topics, as I was doing some final reflections for the meeting and looking at the agenda, I realized it would be more sensible and efficient to sort of take the next agenda items in a different order. So if you have the agenda in front of you, it would be C, B, E, D. And so I am requesting a motion to go out of the regular order of business. Would someone like to?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Kathy.
Seconded, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Chief Wright. All in favor, raise your hand. Okay, all in favor, thank you. Okay. So In our recent meetings, at least the past two, maybe even the past three meetings, we've had guests at the meeting. And in having guests at the meeting and looking at what has been discussed when we've had guests there, whether they were planned guests like Dr. Toby Pearlstein and Bob Upton, or guests from the public, in discussions with the mayor's office and with Ruben, who has been supporting the HRC, there was a suggestion that we might want to consider adding a line to our mission statement. And so I'm going to screen share what that would be and then allow you to give some input. So this is our mission statement, and what's in red is the line to add. So can everyone see this okay? So adding the line, through a focus on systemic change in the city. Would anyone like to comment or ask a question about this?
I think it's a good addition. Personally, I think it's a necessary addition as well.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair Shea. Anyone else?
I also agree. Yeah, I think it got us focused on what we're doing.
Okay.
You.
I agree as well. I just want to make sure I'm following. So this is really in opposition to settling personal disputes. Is that what we're really getting at? Is that people really know that it's not a platform necessarily for personal disagreements? Is that what we're saying here, or maybe I'm missing?
No, this is purely just to look at our mission statement and could it be more clear in what our mission is. There are now on our HRC webpage, which since we're here, I'll show you. On our HRC webpage, there is now guidelines for.
We're still seeing your Word document.
Oh, sorry, I gotta change the share. Thank you. There, can you see it now? So this is on the HRC webpage that we recently added with, input from the mayor's office, guidelines for the public forum section of our HRC meetings. And these were similar to what I had read at the last meeting. So I'll actually read them now. This is the HRC monthly meeting, not a mediation meeting. The public forum section of the monthly meeting is to share human rights concerns. If a mediation is requested, this will be held with Mayor Arrigo or designee outside of the monthly meeting. In the interest of time and efficiency, the HRC chair reserves the right at the beginning of any public forum segment of the meeting to set a time limit for speakers. The HRC members will also have a brief opportunity to comment. Guests are expected to speak in an open and respectful way. Aggressive speech or slander will not be tolerated. Guests will be muted if needed, and after being reminded more than twice, the guest may be removed from the meeting. The HRC does not have authority over city employees or officials, and then it restates our mission statement that if we decide to update it, we'll edit that here. This is not a forum to bring a complaint against an HRC member. If a guest has an issue with one of our HRC members, they are directed to address this with the appointing authority, Mayor Arrigo. Comments relative to social media. unless social media becomes a forum for specific racial violence or is used in a means to further marginalize groups of people, the HRC cannot be a forum for individual social media grievances between people, no matter the context. So these guidelines are now on our page. It's probably a good idea if you haven't been on this page to familiarize yourself with this page, because this is really where the public, would go. And now I'll go back. So that is for the public forum portion. The mission statement, this suggestion in red, is really so that we can be even clearer in terms of our mission statement. So Jalon, does that help give you a little bit better understanding?
I think so. I guess I still have a little confusion, and I'm wondering if that might be confusing for the public too. Of course, there's systemic problems, right? But what does that mean for the person with a complaint? Does that mean that they should stop and think about, is this something that can be addressed systemically? Or, if they've gone through all that and they shouldn't bring it? That's where I'm struggling a bit. I think there is some guidance needed about what our catchment is, a little bit more, but I guess that's the question that came naturally to me, and wondering if other people might struggle with that.
So to respond to that, in case others are questioning, and I appreciate all of your patience as well as the public, because we are a sort of newly formed, reestablished group, and we haven't had an executive director or a DEI. So our ordinance does state that the HRC can hold resolutions and mediations. Once that ordinance will need to be updated, because the ordinance is referring to an ED, and we're going to be having a DEI. Whether or not, I don't get the sense that the HRC as a body will be holding mediations. I think that those might be happening outside of the HRC, but there will be a vehicle. If someone has a particular complaint, there will be vehicles and systems in place for them to go, where they could either have some kind of mediation or resolution, or be referred to the appropriate channels. Does that help anymore? Before I answer you, Karu, does that help anymore, Jalon?
It does, thank you.
And I like, a lot of this is happening, we only meet once a month, and a lot of this is unfolding sort of and changing, and we went from an ED to a DEI, and we haven't even elaborated on our mission statement. So like I said, thank you for your patience. Karu, did you have your hand up?
So I see, thank you. I see the mission statement as a overall acting of our work. It's not particularly for individual complaint or group complaint. So that's totally separate. And the mission statement is really covering what the work is for the Human Rights Commission. So that's how I see the difference.
Thank you. Thank you for the clarification.
I'm just, I have a clarifying question. So I'd like you to, if you don't mind, to post that statement again, because I saw a section there in red. Is that what you project? Was it the mission statement?
So everything in black is our current mission statement.
Okay.
What is in red is one line to include. So we're discussing this now, and we'll vote on it. Should we include this line in red to have our mission statement, which again, this is the bigger picture, but to have it be more clear in terms of systemic change? Does that make sense, Dr. Garcia? That this is our current mission statement, except the red portion.
To be honest with you, if we are looking for organizational change that is sustainable over time, in due time, and if we really are looking for change, I don't mind having that addition to the mission, to the Human Rights Commission mission statement.
Thank you. Anybody else? And please let me know if you need me to put that back up.
Just a question, Madam Chair. Where did this addition come from?
This was sort of in some communications with Ruben, who has been supporting the HRC in the mayor's office. This suggestion was from those communications. This suggestion was made.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else before we vote? Rashid?
Madam Chair, I like that suggestion. It's just for the mission statement. It's unusual to have it change like maybe every 3-6 months. We could keep that suggestion in record. Maybe, you know, like the new commissioners, I know that this is probably a 2-year term. Maybe the new commissioners may have like other ideas, and this mission statement could be revisited once a year or every other 2 years. But I'm all for updating guidelines. As we learn, we can update those procedures and guidelines. And I'm also with keeping the door open, and we don't want to keep it too open. I personally was attacked a million times on Facebook. If you are open to those problems, probably we will never end. But at the meantime, we will keep it open. Maybe we should do some research and see how other commissions that existed for a while in other cities and towns, how they handled similar issues. And probably once we go through the other training, we may come with something, maybe give them like some kind of reference. We want to be the to-go person before going to court or any other area, but at the same time, we don't have the resources and we don't have the knowledge to handle those kinds of issues. And thank you.
Thank you, Rashid. But that's a good point, that we don't want to get in the habit, and that's not the suggestion, that we're like every few months updating the mission statement. But that is something to consider. Kathy?
I have a question, and I don't know if anyone here can answer it. Maybe it's something I should ask the city clerk, but unless I misunderstood, there's proposed revisions to the city ordinance that reinstated this commission. And so I'm assuming that this change in our mission statement is to reflect the eventual changes that are going to be in the ordinance, but the changes in the ordinance have not been made yet, correct? And part of and this is all because there's going to be a new position in the city for a diversity, equity, inclusion officer as opposed to executive director. Okay, so is it okay? I mean, I guess it's okay to change if we want to change the statement now, but it may not reflect the ordinance as it stands right now. So I'm not trying to
No, that's a good point.
confuse this more, but I'm just, that's my question.
No, it's a good point. It may, I mean, I don't know. What I'm hearing is, I'm hearing, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that although people are not disagreeing with that suggestion, it sounds like it may be more prudent to wait a bit when the ordinance is updated, as well as a DEI is coming on fairly soon. And then maybe I can hold on to this document, and this may be sort of revisited in the near future, in the next few months or something.
So would that be like a a table, like you would motion to table, we wouldn't have to even do a motion, just, we'd have to just wait to see what the, I guess it would be the city council, right? Would change that?
Not the mission statement. So,
No, not the mission statement, the ordinance.
right, the ordinance would have to go, my understanding is the ordinance goes through the city council, but for our purposes, in terms of the agenda item of reviewing and elaborating on the mission statement, the reviewing piece, do we need to table that? Those of you that are more familiar with these parliamentary rules, does that need to be tabled?
Motion wasn't made, so I don't think we do, but I could be wrong, but maybe we could just revisit it.
All right. Well, part of this agenda item, Shay,
Sorry, I just have like a question because I'm unfamiliar with the vocabulary. Is like tabling basically like put like left on the back burner until the time comes and then we readdress it again, basically?
it's like revisiting, yes.
Oh, okay. I think I just needed clarification. Thank you.
I'm
I
sorry.
just want to say something
Yeah,
very
language.
quickly, if it's possible.
Mhm. Go ahead.
So the Humans Commission's mission statement is a living document. It changes in the function of the circumstances and the function of problems that arise. So it's not a static document. So obviously that's the reason there is this committee, because we all have different opinions on things. We can certainly table it and go a little bit deeper at our next meeting. But I think that's a small change that, in my view, considering that many organizations are changing, they talking about systemic racism, systemic change, all this vocabulary. I think it's timely, and I don't see a problem with that. But certainly, others may have a different opinion. I'll go with whatever the committee says, but I just want to keep in mind that this is not the document that's done and once for all. This is a living document that changes in function of time, circumstances, and things that will emerge along the way.
Thank you, Dr. Garcia. Could I make a suggestion? Because the other part of this topic is elaborating on the mission statement. So we had a mission statement subcommittee that had helped create this mission statement. And we, at that time, had a lot of great language around vision, and we talked about goals and objectives and creating group norms or shared intentions. And that has sort of been in the back burner. Now, what I wanted to ask tonight is, I'm going to share this document just briefly because it has a lot of information on it. But this is a document you got in email before this meeting. All the information on this document, considerations for mission statement elaboration. A lot of this language had already been submitted when we worked on the mission statement. So I had just compiled it on one document. And you can see it just mentions, should we have values, what some goals might be. Again, we didn't create goals, but this was all language that had come up that was good language that the subcommittee had said we should save this because it might be appropriate for goals or objectives. So all this information is here on this document. And what I would like is over the next couple of months, there's a couple of projects I see. And one is this elaboration of the mission statement. What I mean is to create a vision, if we want a vision, to have some goals and objectives, to have some group norms or shared intentions. And it seems like it might be easier scheduling in other logistics to have one or possibly 2 members if they want to team up and buddy up, to take that document and work on it over the next month or 2 and come back to the full body to sort of say, okay, this is what we'd like to offer as a vision. This is what we came up with goals or objectives or group norms. And then the full body can, of course, look at it, but where it's more or less really just working on information that had already been presented, it seems like it might be easier to just have 1 or maybe 2 people to work on it so that it doesn't involve so much sort of complicated scheduling. So is anyone in? Yes, Lynn. And before you go, the reason I'm mentioning this is maybe if that group comes back, whoever it is, that person or a couple of members comes back, once we see some other languages, then we can say, well, do we need to add that line to the mission statement? Or is it covered in other areas quite completely? So that's another reason why it might be worth it to just have a little more information in the next couple of months. But go ahead, Lynn.
2 things. I agree with the systematic focus. But I do think it's a great point that Jalon said. Does that kind of shift whether we're encouraging people to bring grievances and et cetera, et cetera. So I think it may be premature to even edit our mission statement if the ordinance is going to change. So if the ordinance is what gives us the guidance of what we're to do, I think that ought to be done before we make any changes to the mission statement. And if indeed the ordinance, specifies and gives us that focus on saying, okay, we're going to be attacking systematically what's wrong with, the city or what have you, then we'll be able to articulate that through the mission statement by saying, for an example, by reviewing legislations and et cetera, et cetera. So I think it seems a little bit prematurely to add on to our mission if the mission is changing, may change, if the mission may change.
Okay, thank you. Does it seem like it's still reasonable to work on core values, vision, group norms, goals? And if so, who would like to, 1 or 2 people, I'm not asking you to have it next week, but to sort of take that document and work on it on your own or with somebody else, see where there might be duplication, or put some samples there so that you can then bring it back to this group in the next month or 2.
Madam Chair, do we know when the ordinance is going to be changing? Because I think it, like I stated before, I think, our goals derive from the ordinance. So if that's changing, or there could be like a specific focus on something that may drastically change what we decide to focus on.
The ordinance will probably have to change fairly soon if they're going to be, looking for a DEI.
I think it does make sense if the ordinance is going to change. If that is a driving document, then, if that's a driving document, then we should wait until it changes and we tackle it, rather than coming up with something and then it'll be subject to change. We don't know what will be the language in the ordinance. I think if it's going to be done soon, then we should wait. Some of us can still start brainstorming ideas about the vision, about some goals. I don't mind being part of that committee if that's the direction we want to go. But I would say that if this is something is going to happen soon, maybe we should wait a little bit.
Thank you. So before you, if I may say something, Chief Wright, actually, go ahead. You go first. Go.
Just after listening to all the comments by our co-members, I'd offer a motion at this time that we table any editing of the mission statement until after the ordinance is taken up before the city council.
Could we add, is it reasonable to add to that, not only editing the mission statement, but any elaboration of goals and objectives, like that whole agenda item would be tabled?
I accept that as a friendly amendment.
I second that motion. Thank you, Chief.
All in favor? Rashid and Dr. Garcia, are you opposed? I'm just not sure. So it's okay if you're not raising your hand. I just want to be clear. So
I raise my hand.
okay, so everybody's all in favor. Okay. Okay. So in closing on that topic, it's just keep in mind that you know, we do need to do work on this commission, and so you know, it's not just coming here once a month, and we all need to step up in different ways. So if a way to step up might be serving on a subcommittee, another way to step up might be to take on a little project on your own. So I'm just reminding everyone that, you know, I need help. Shay and I need help. Ruben, Shay and I need help. So, you know, when the time comes, you know, I'm asking people to step up, and that might be quite soon as we move along these agenda items. Okay. The next item is the HRC resources webpage. So I had sent you an email with a lot of information. Please know those were just samples. It was also just a limited amount of information that Shay and I wanted to offer to get the conversation going, okay? So I'm going to share my screen again, and so for instance, okay, can you see the HRC webpage? Someone?
Yes.
Okay, so you're seeing like the internet, right? You're seeing this Black Lives Matter image?
Yes.
So this was just one example. So the few web pages I sent, and I admit these are coming more from meditation center lenses. So there's, but all of them sort of had some kind of message. And then either on the same page or on a separate page, there would be a list of resources. And they're often sort of organized by category of books, you know, what to read, what to listen to, what to watch. And each web page is formatted slightly differently, but they're all somewhat similar in that sense of there's a message, and then there's, you know, there might be some kind of video, and then there's categories, you know, of books and documentaries and websites and podcasts and articles and etc. So what we had sent was a few samples of web pages as well as some other additional resources. And again, what I'd love to see is if one person or two people could take could sort of receive whatever else, because I'm sure all of you have valuable resources to share. So once all the members get a chance and an opportunity to share some resources, whether it's a few or some different web pages like I just showed you, I'd like one person or two people to just compile the information. There's a lot of duplication in these because a lot of the same books and the same documentaries and similar websites are being referenced. And so a good starting point for us is, why don't we sort of see the ones that are consistent across many different platforms, and then, add to that ones that members are recommending, so that again, then the full body can look at something that is a little bit more organized. Now, this would require some organization and attention to detail to go through all these, different sources, not only the ones I just shared, but the ones all of you may share. So I'm asking for help.
I think that's a great idea. I think that's a great idea. But first, I think we need to brainstorm the thematics, the themes that we want to, this page to have. Is this, I saw books there, I saw videos there, I saw cultural, things there, I saw videos, I saw a variety of things. So I think what we need to do first is to determine which layout we're going to use and what type of information we are going to get on this page. I like it, but I think that's the first task that we need to determine.
I also was going to add, I agree, resources is a critical thing for us to offer. I was thinking that the work might be finding trusted resources that we could redirect to, rather than us having our own resources that could become out of date or require constant maintenance. So, if we found such and such institute that we all agreed on and trusted for that, and, a handful of other ones, might be a more reasonable way to approach for us.
Mm-hmm. That's totally, I'm just sharing what I've been exposed to. That's totally fine. Different ways to go about it. I'm asking for help. So, and I know sometimes subcommittees make it a little bit more formal, a little bit more challenging with scheduling. And this is the kind of thing that one member or two members buddying up could sort of come back with some ideas to present. But Jalon, what you mentioned, if we want to go that route, that's totally fine.
Do we have time in session to get started and maybe figure an approach, and then maybe we can see what's hard for, it seems hard for subgroups don't seem to work for us, or subcommittees or whatever. I don't know what, we need to figure that out, I guess, right? Yeah, I hear you basically, but.
We don't, unfortunately, have time tonight, and July will also be a pretty full. I already know that we have an important topic and presentation for that meeting. So that's why I was hoping that maybe someone, over the course of the month could just come up with, look at the information and come up with some ideas of how to proceed.
I certainly can take a look for trusted resources to bring back to the group on my part. Yeah, I'm happy to do that. But it's not the whole thing. I think someone else, at least a couple other people, should take a look so we have a breadth of opinions on this. I think it's a good opportunity for it to be well represented across our committee, with people saying here are resources that, or sites too, right?
Yeah, and this is just Jalon, thank you for, offering. This is just the first step. So this is going to take us a while to figure out what this web page might look like. This is just the first step of how can we keep moving forward with the important work we have to do while we're waiting for a DEI. And this is something that we can be sort of thinking about the web page, or what resources we want to use, or how we might want to format it. If you want to have a subcommittee, that's fine. It just seems that that's more difficult for people to schedule. And that's why I'm open to Jalon, or if anybody wants to buddy up with, team up with Jalon, that's totally fine as well. So would anyone like to work with Jalon to just get some preliminary ideas to present? It might be at the July meeting to give us a brief update, but this is something that we can work on just so that we're moving forward.
I can certainly, I mean, I can certainly look for resources also and help out. I don't have the skill set in terms of designing websites or
No,
layouts. I don't have that, but I can certainly look for some resources on racial equity, resources on, diversity inclusion, some links, some videos and materials. I can certainly look into that because that's a part of my job. But in terms of, I'm going to go back again. I think we have to come up with a layout, see where the information, each piece of information is going to be stored, how it's going to be visualized, the access to public, the whole concept of the page needs to be, reimagined. So that's all I'm saying.
yeah, we won't, Dr. Garcia, we won't be responsible for that's the IT department or
Okay.
or whoever is supporting us. Like I'm looking for what's the general direction we want to go. Let's start to gather some resources. Then someone with that kind of expertise can say to us, oh, well, we could do it this way. Or do you want to have videos on there? Like, to make the page not just be a bunch of text. So we wouldn't be responsible for doing that.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll look for some materials.
So I think, just hold on, Shay, you had your hand up, then Kathy. And yeah, Ruben saying that I thought that might be Ruben that would be supporting. So Shay and then Kathy.
I just wanted to say, like, I'm happy to join Jalon on that, on finding more resources, especially trusted resources that we can direct people to.
Okay, and what I can do, thank you, Shay, is, I can follow up with the two of you afterward, just to sort of hand off some thoughts or make sure you have the information that you need. And then, the two of you can sort of brainstorm and reach out to the members, because everybody will have an opportunity to share resources. I would say let Jalon and Shay sort of maybe get a little bit settled in terms of how they want to go about it, but everyone will have an opportunity to share resources. So I just want to make sure that's clear. Kathy?
You answered my question.
Okay.
Thank you.
So when Jalon and Shay are ready, it could be in the upcoming weeks, it could be after the July meeting, they will let you know. They will reach out and ask for you to provide resources. Let them at least just get started. Oh, Jalon, you're muted.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, if we can, I think Dr. Garcia in his capacity might have some things really at hand if I could take him up on the offer, right from the beginning.
Sure.
Yeah, if you don't, yeah.
Yeah,
Great.
I'll be glad to help
Okay.
out. No problem.
All right.
Okay, and if there's anybody else that feels like Dr. Garcia, by all means, it's not that, you can't share. However it works best for you all, and Jalon and Shay, however I can support you, because I have sort of the HRC email list sort of handy, but we can figure that out outside of this meeting. So thank you all. Thank you, Dr. Garcia, and all that spoke, and especially Jalon and Shay for offering to help. Okay. So there was a culture.
Madam Chair, I'm happy to offer my help in anything technical. I feel that's my area of expertise. But if Ruben will be taking care of the updates of the site and all of that stuff, that's fine. But anything technical, I'd be more than happy to help.
That's good to know, Rashid, that you might be able to give some input around design or other kind of aesthetic suggestions or whatnot. So thank you. Okay. So there was a Cultural Holidays and Celebration Subcommittee meeting on May 20th, and you all got the minutes. Does anyone have any questions, edits, challenges to those minutes? And if not, if someone could make a motion to approve the minutes from that subcommittee May 20th meeting.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second it.
Okay, all in favor, raise your hand. Chief Callahan, yes. I can't see your hand, yes? Yeah, okay, all in favor, thanks. And Kathy, do you want to please give the subcommittee report?
Sure, thanks, Madam Chair. Sorry, I'm just getting my notes out. I apologize, everybody. Sorry. I had it in order, sorry. Okay. Basically, we discussed making, we made a motion that basically said if we don't meet monthly, because it's really is an as needed basis, that we would give the chair and or whoever is the executive director or DEI person the ability to approve things to the calendar or any other things like banners, things like that. And I also brought up in that meeting that actually it was when I sent them, I brought it up in the meeting and sent an email to the subcommittee members saying that because the law is changing, because the COVID restrictions are being lifted, that the next meeting, whenever it is, would have to be in person. So I asked everyone to get me an idea if the same date and time would work for everyone if we had to go in person. I don't see that I heard from anyone yet. So if everyone could just, I will send the email again today. And if everyone could just let me know, that would be really helpful. I don't think we're going to be having a meeting in June and possibly not July, depending on if there's something a committee member or citizen wants to bring up. We also did have a request come in to the calendar. And so I made the recommendation to not recommend that this be added to the cultural celebrations calendar at this time, because we're modeling holidays, events, awareness days that are acknowledged on other world and diversity calendars. This one really didn't fit that. If the person is listening and wants to provide a further description of this event and email it to the commission, I'm happy to reconsider it. But there really wasn't a convincing case as to why this rose to the level of other events and holidays that are already on the calendar. Also, did a little bit of internet research, and one of the words had different meanings for different recognized religions. So right now there was, erring on the side of caution to not do that. So if the person's listening wants to provide a further explanation, more than happy to do that. I don't think we're missing
What was
anything.
the event, Kathy?
It is the celebration of religious plurality and shedding archaic superstition. And it's not in the minutes, but I'm happy to, if anyone wants to Google that, they're more than happy to. They're more than welcome to.
Kathy, may I speak for one moment?
Of course. Thank you. Thank you for not letting me speak anymore.
No. The actual, the event, so Kathy gave, there was sort of a little bit of a description, but the event itself is Unveiling Day. Just so for the record, it's Unveiling Day was the actual event.
Thank you for saying that, Madam Chair. That was the word, because when you did search that, various religions came up. They were very varied in what they meant. So right now the decision was made not to add that to the calendar.
One other thing, Kathy, is I believe I saw in the email your request to the subcommittee members besides scheduling, I think you were asking their input on sort of knowing the demographic of Revere, the history of Revere, and looking at the whole calendar. Are there any particular days or events that subcommittee members felt like, I don't know, maybe need to be brought to the attention of the mayor's office to make some recommendations? So I think I saw that in your request to them in addition to scheduling. Is that correct?
Yes, I'm sorry about that, Madam Chair. That was definitely in there as well. So
So-
if there is anyone that has any suggestions, if you want to email those to myself or Ruben or the chair, so that we can, convene another meeting of the subcommittee to discuss that, because we want to try to be as proactive as we can. And I actually did also reach out to the mayor's office to ask what they already kind of have scheduled, as far as, what things are, for lack of a better expression, in the can. Like, we know that there's autism awareness, there's certain things that are done in certain months. So like, instead of reinventing the wheel, seeing what's already done, and if there's only certain months that don't have something that is being acknowledged and in more ways.
Yes. Thank you, Kathy, and thank you for reaching out to the mayor's office. Dr. Garcia?
Actually, I meant to email Kathy on that, and I totally, I forgot. So I will email you on a particular event that this probably will create some, it will not set well with probably some people, but it needs to be revised. And but I will email you so that we can discuss it, because I think that is important.
Great, thank you, Dr. Garcia.
So if I heard correctly, Kathy, you will send an email to the subcommittee members, again, asking about this recommendation for certain dates or events. And then also, if there is another meeting in the near future, you'll find out availability for in-person meetings.
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Kathy, so much, and for all those who serve on the subcommittee. Thank you. The last topic, and we don't have much time because we need to sort of finish with these agenda items, these topics for discussion. So please be mindful of brevity. Juneteenth is Saturday, I believe it's a Saturday on June 19th. And again, because we're not as proactive as we'd like to be, it's only like a little over 2 weeks away. But we could, the HRC as a body could make a recommendation to the mayor's office. I know that there's been banners done before. I know some feel that that's sort of maybe not always enough. There could be other ideas for a recommendation to acknowledge Juneteenth. That does seem to be a holiday that really should be one of those that sort of get some special recognition. It could be something in the future that could be presented to the city council so that it is recognized citywide as a holiday, and city offices are closed on that day, but that would be something that a DEI would follow through it. At this point, I'm just looking at this year, which is a little over 2 weeks away. One thought I had to do something a little different than a banner was, I don't know if maybe the city could do a movie night, and at the movie night, we play a movie that has to do with Black history or some other appropriate theme that recognizes the culture, that would be sort of family friendly if children wanted to go. But we have a short amount of time. If anyone has any thoughts about a recommendation for this year for the mayor's office.
My recommendation would be to bring a guest speaker to come and talk about the event, followed by a movie night, as you suggested.
And actually, thank you, Dr. Garcia. When I had inquired about this to Ruben, he had also mentioned it would be valuable to have a guest speaker, to combine it with the movie. Anyone else?
Oh, I actually have a suggestion. Maybe instead of having like a particular guest speaker, finding either youth or anyone in the community who is willing to speak on their experiences can show, like, I think that's a good idea, rather than just have someone, I mean, assuming that we don't know who this person is going to be. But if that's the case, I feel like it's better if we have people from the community, present their stories and have their stories being heard, obviously to their, whether they're comfortable with that idea or not. So I feel like that's better than just have one guest speaker.
Thank you, Shay. Kathy?
Really quickly, I think having guest speakers and all of that would be a great idea, but considering it's 2 weeks away, I think that would probably be something we'd have to plan for next year. So kind of thinking what you were saying, Madam Chair, about a movie or something, if, we can Google, family friendly. I mean, reality is usually not family friendly. But I know I did hear of one movie called Miss Juneteenth that I believe is family friendly, but I am not sure. But maybe if you're saying you wanted to put like a movie on the Legion lawn or something like that, that's something that could do quickly, or even have some links to some YouTube TED Talk videos on our page. That could be something that could come up quickly. And I'm happy to look up some of those to help Ruben and whoever. But I think, a bigger acknowledgement would be great, but with the reality of 2 weeks and no one really having the time to really take this on as their project, I think, we really can't impose that on you and Ruben.
Well, beyond, this is really up to the mayor's office. I'm concerned, I don't know if they have enough time to pull all this together. So I can bring these suggestions back and see what they say. And if anyone does have, because we don't really have the time, it's only a little over 2 weeks away. We don't really have the time for someone to, Ruben, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, so if any HRC members had videos that they felt they wanted to put on our page for Juneteenth, is that something that we can do out if it hasn't been voted on?
It hasn't been voted on. I
And
don't think the website doesn't require a vote to put resources on like that. But I don't think. I mean, I would just we could just put links to videos and we would just title it that. These are ideas that members of the commissioners of the HRC wanted to suggest to members of the public to review for Juneteenth. We could find a way to do it that doesn't appear to be official HRC policy.
Okay, so in other words, we could have 6 different links for things, and without everybody else giving input, it's fine to just post those on the HRC webpage.
As long as it was with the right context and people understood that it was not officially, that it was proposed by different members, but not, official action of the HRC. Okay,
thank you. So I will forward the suggestions to the mayor's office about possibly a movie night, possibly a guest speaker, or youth in the community, if there was even enough time to organize any or all of that. I'll look into the Miss Juneteenth if there was a movie and if that was family friendly. And then if anyone does want to submit any links to videos or anything to put on our webpage around this time period, please do so. Does anyone have any other business before we go on? Rashid?
Madam Chair, I just want to have a comment. I just want to acknowledge the License Commission members for their support, as well as all the city councilors, the mayor's office, Chief Bright, Chief Callahan, the Dr. Kelly, superintendent, for their support when I submit my application for the Moroccan Cultural Day, which will take place in August 14th. Well, last year I had like a very tough time where my application was denied, while the approved similar application. I think our city is moving toward in the right direction, and I want to have this process the same for other communities as well. If someone want to have the Colombian Cultural Day, why not? We're all different, and what does it have to do with us if a group of people are getting together to celebrate? We all have different priorities, different things that we like. I think I just want to acknowledge that, and thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Rashid. And was it the Moroccan Cultural Day? Is that the name of the event? Did I hear that correctly?
Correct. It's the Street Moroccan Festival, which been a platform for inclusion and diversity. And each year we invite a different country to help them promote and empower their people.
Okay.
And we wish to see more communities coming up together to celebrate their heritage. We are all different, and we should learn how to work together and support each other in the city. Thank you.
Thank you. And that's on August 14th.
Yes, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Is that on the calendar?
I'm not sure if it's on the calendar, but I will
Maybe
circle
12th.
back with Ruben and the mayor's office. Thank
Yeah.
you.
And you can, Ruben will copy Kathy. Okay. Thank you. Any other? Go ahead, Shalon.
Sorry, I was just, if that topic is closed, I was just gonna circle back to the Juneteenth conversation. Sorry, I'm a little slow because it was a lot at first, but I did have a comment if I can share that, if you don't mind. All right, thinking more about it, you know, since it's a celebration of emancipation and Black culture and those kind of things, I think something, and thinking about celebrations that happen across the country, like a Black-owned business, supporting that, especially in Revere. I think there might be a barbecue business or something like that, you know, that people could come out and, you know, get a gathering of those things that are in our city that people could come and maybe, you know, patronize on the day. Might be an appropriate way to celebrate, something like that.
Thank you. Yeah, when I was doing a little bit of Google research, I did see that that was one of the ways that many sort of cities supported that. So I'll add that to the list of recommendations. Okay. All right. We done with other business? Okay. So for those of you that aren't familiar with an executive session, I know some of you aren't familiar with these kind of governmental meetings. We are a public body, which means that we sort of are regulated by open meeting laws, and we all got that kind of education when we joined the HRC, and we received the open meeting law guidebook, and which means that our meetings are in public, and the public has, you know, access to our meetings and minutes and anything else. There are times when a public body can meet privately, and there are 10 reasons, or they're called purposes if you look at the open meeting law guidebook, and there are 10 purposes when a public body can meet privately. And so what I will do now is I'm going to ask the question of us going into an executive session. I'm going to take a vote. If we have a majority and we go into executive session, then I'll sort of state from there what the steps are. So shall the Human Rights Commission enter into executive session for the purpose to discuss the reputation, character, and complaints against Karu Pish, a member of the Human Rights Commission. The cited purpose of this executive session is designed to protect the rights and reputations of individuals. So who is in favor of going into executive session? Please raise your hand. Rashid. So all are in favor. Now for anyone who is watching in the public, we will not be reconvening at the conclusion of the executive session. So the public portion of this meeting is now concluded. We need to stop the public feed to Revere TV and YouTube and Facebook.